Lights, cameras, action, go! Hey Olive, what? It's tea time. Everybody tuning in like it's prime time. Let's listen, conversation, engage, participation about issues, dates, and events. I guarantee you this is time well spent. Success, business, relationships, discussion over tea. Go ahead and take a sip. All around the world, it's tea time with Olive. Let's have a good time. Just watch, listen. Tea time with Olive is what you've been missing. All around the world, it's tea time with Olive. Let's have a good time. Just watch, listen. Tea time with Olive is what you've been missing. Tea time with Olive. 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 Tea time with Olive.
We're here with Tea Time with Olive. I have Nancy Seitbaden here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me and having me.
Sure, I'm glad you're here. Well, there's a lot going on in Oakland, to be honest, right?
You're so on point. Yes, there is.
There's, we thought in 2014, you know, after all the run, the race, everything that was going on, we thought with the new mayor, things will be better.
Well, unfortunately, thought processes have changed. The issue with as many people that were running, the choices were very difficult, and we needed to understand that people need to do their homework before they vote for people.
Exactly, yeah. And that's one of the things. The majority of people that don't vote is like almost voting for the wrong person. And sometimes you just don't have a lot of candidates. And I hate to say it, the last round that they were running for mayor, there was 15 of them running for.
That's right.
Maybe people got confused. There were a little too many people running. But then one of the things that I think that I learned about Oakland, the culture that Oakland has, the people, the culture, it's beautiful. So it has to be somebody from Oakland to understand, like what Ken Houston used to say, you need to know from the streets to the swing.
That's right. You have to come from the streets to understand how the process works.
Exactly. So, so you had some questions. People are sending some questions. So we're gonna ask you some of these questions. There's a lot of questions, but we picked top 5 for you. And one of the questions are that Oakland has one of the highest property taxes. You know that, I know that because we've been involved in Oakland. The highest taxes when it comes to Alameda County. And in November, voters are going to be asked to vote more.
Right, that's correct.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the problem is you can't sit there and continue to overload property owners in a city that doesn't have business and a sales tax base in order to sustain all the work that needs to be done in the city. Oakland exists on applying for grants. And in the United States, money's drying up. We're a country that's $19 trillion in debt. We're printing money like it's water, and in turn we have cities that are hurting, that need all the help they can get, and Oakland's constantly got their hands out asking for money in order to do projects.
Right.
The next problem with all of that is when the money comes in, nobody follows up with audits to make sure that those projects that they applied for, that money is being used correctly.
Right.
And so when we're looking at this, you have Oakland asking for a $600 million property tax grant.
Wow.
And one of the issues that they say they're going to use it for is potholes. Wait a minute. We're already paying through Measure BB for potholes. But in the meantime, Libya's decided she's having a transportation czar who's now overseeing transportation issues in Oakland. And on top of that, he's now taken the pothole money to be used for whatever ideas he's coming up with.
Do you have a rough estimate of how much he's getting paid?
From what I understand, and I don't have this for a fact, he's getting roughly $30,000 a month.
No way.
Yes.
Well, he's not doing his job.
No.
Because I almost had a flat tire on the way here.
There you
there
go.
was a pothole.
There you go. And I can give you a couple of locations that there are still potholes, even with the pothole blitz.
I mean, they're not tight.
Police department, excuse me, for having the quality of officers they've had over the years and been a fantastic. It used to be a department that every training that was done in Oakland, those officers came from around the state of California.
Right.
Because we had the best training that there was for a police department. And we have fantastic officers. It's just that it's become politicized.
Right.
And when you get politicians involved in running departments that have stringent controls, you lose the momentum
Right.
and the actions.
That's absolutely true, but still on one of the other things just we discussed, on even at the police department, you said that they're hiring from outside when it comes to construction workers, even with the police coming from outside, not knowing the community, not knowing the people, not knowing the culture. That could do a lot with it. What would you do different if you were in Libby's position, let's say?
Oh, in Libby's position, one of the things that you try to hire is you try to hire from the city that you live in. But Oakland is also a transient city, so you have a lot of people that move into Oakland. The problem in Oakland is the rents. People can't afford to live here. And when you're starting, yes, police officers make a good salary,
Right.
but you also have to find a location that's going to
Right.
accept you. And that being said, there's a lot of young men and women that are applying to become officers in Oakland. It's just a matter of them being able to pass all the criteria in order to graduate from the academy, and that's part of the problem. And then once they get in there, they get married, they have families. Then we have the school system. Do you want to keep your children in Oakland, or do you want to go to another city where you know you have a better school system where your kids can grow up without having to worry about the functions or poor functions of Oakland schools? So there's a lot of dynamics that come into play.
It's true, and now that you said that, it makes me think that, there's, I hate the fact that Oakland's so divided. It's the upper class and the lower class.
Correct.
I mean, I think the Oaklanders that originally started Oakland and they worked to make Oakland, the Oakland that 10, 15 years ago, the beautiful Oakland, who made that Oakland? But now, like you said, the rent is high, the tax is high, so now all those Oaklanders have to be pushed away. They're moving more towards Vallejo, Richmond. They're moving away because they can't afford it.
Exactly.
And the people that are coming from outside, now they're the new Oaklanders, right? Not fair, not fair.
That's
but
fair.
on the same token, what are some of the things that you could do when it comes to people's life matter? How can you get the community involved in people's life matter? It's not about white, it's not about black, it's not about Muslim. And sometimes, it's a question for me when we say that Black Lives Matter and then there's Muslims get killed as well. I'm like, okay, so Muslim life doesn't matter? So it's not about black, white, it's people's life matters.
And one of the things that nobody talks about is that we are in a transient age right now where everything is becoming automated.
Right.
And so there's anger. Where do you find the jobs? People say to me, oh, there's jobs out there. No, they're not. We've sent most of the jobs where people can work in a group situation overseas because corporations want to save money and they want to make money for their shareholders. This is an issue that needs to be talked about.
Right.
We keep having more babies. We have a future that's looking very bleak. San Jose used to be a sleepy agricultural community. That is where the bay dumps. That's the bathroom of the bay, to be crude, because that's where the bay dumps all the riches.
Right.
And that's what makes it, and now it's the biggest.
That's where my office is.
but it's a fact. It's where all the minerals and all the growth factors that make the land rich go.
Right.
It's not in Berkeley, it's not up in Vallejo, that's where the bay channels to.
Exactly.
And when you look at this, you have to stop and think. They have made that into a bustling, largest city in the Bay Area instead of keeping it agriculture, and then we take our water and put it into the desert areas to grow food. What's wrong with this picture?
You know what? Nancy has a lot of information when it comes to Oakland and the background of Oakland. And let's go back. You've started in Oakland, what year? You moved
I
there?
moved here in September 4th, 1964 is when I moved to Oakland. I've been
Okay.
here over 50 years.
Wow.
I went to school at Merritt College on the old Grove Street, so the old Merritt College. And when I graduated there, I graduated at East Bay, Hayward
Okay.
in 1970.
So what has some of your activities has been in Oakland?
My activities in Oakland is I started becoming an activist when the animal shelter in Oakland, when it was on 9th Street, was being run so poorly that they tried to pass a law where they wanted to make a household for animals, that there were only 3 animals in a household, which included a fish, a bird, or a cat. Not 3 dogs,
Right.
not 3 cats,
Right.
but a fish, a bird, or a cat. If you had a horse, then you could only have the horse because that was too big.
Okay. Well,
But
yeah, of
this
course
is,
it's-
you know, but
Right.
this is how the mentality of Oakland works. They don't look at the bigger picture of where and how the laws are going to affect the general population. Laws in Oakland are made to affect certain people. And the problem is it then affects the whole. And nobody stops to
I
realize.
hate to say it, it sounds like some of the third world countries.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, probably in my country they would do that. They would make a law based on a little community that's around the government
That's
system, right? Around the city hall.
That's right, that's
And
it.
then the rest of the city has to follow it.
And the problem in Oakland is what Oakland and how laws are passed. It's usually complaint driven. And when you see all these people show up at City Hall, most of those people aren't even from Oakland. They come in from other cities to back up whatever movement is being pushed at City Hall. And of course, the people that are sitting there as council people in the mayor's office go, oh my God, I have to do something. We've got all these people out here banging our door down.
Right.
When in fact, it's not Oaklanders banging that door down. It's somebody trying to get something passed because they're trying to get something protected. And again, it hurts the rest of the city.
Right, right. And I honestly didn't think it was really fair because people are coming from other cities and they do protests in Oakland because there wasn't as much laws and they get more attention. And then breaking these poor business owners' windows or,
That's right.
you're spraying graffiti or whatever. And they're not even from Oakland, you're right.
Exactly.
And we have videos of, during the time when Ken was working actively to get rid of illegal graffiti. We have videos of so many activities that happened in City Hall, and sometimes when people are attacking all over, and most of them are not from Oakland.
And that's part of the problem. And see, Oakland has, most of the changes that have come from Oakland have come from people from outside of Oakland. In the 80s, people that weren't happy with how things were happening in Berkeley all moved to Oakland. And they started trying to bring change into Oakland, taking over different Democratic clubs and or different clubs out there that were active in political action in Oakland.
Right.
And then now all of a sudden, the Jean Quan, when she got in office, we have Occupy.
Right.
And that brought in homeless people.
Right.
Berkeley doesn't have, the People's Park in Berkeley, you don't hear about that anymore.
No.
The last place you heard about was in Albany, on the university grounds where they tried to move
Yeah.
the people from it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
it. Yeah.
when they pushed them out, where were these people going to go? They've now all come,
Right.
most of them, to Oakland. And Oakland is a city. It is not a county. It doesn't have a health program. This is Alameda County's problem. And of course, Alameda County is too busy working and taking care of Pleasanton, Fremont, other cities that are affluent,
Yes.
and let Oakland continue to be
Right.
what I call, and I've said this before and I've gotten in trouble for it, but I'm going to say it again, a welfare city. Because this is where people come to get the help. And it's not that we don't want to help people, it's not that we don't want to be there for people, but you can't let everything come to Oakland because other cities don't want this.
Well, here's the thing, sometimes driving around Oakland, again during the time that Ken was running for mayor, when you go on some of the streets like Telegraph and I was driving around, And some of these teenagers, there's nothing for them to do.
Not a thing.
You know, and the older, you know, I mean, what are they supposed to do? The city's supposed to have a lot of activities, a lot of maybe gyms, a lot of, so they could afford it, maybe even free.
Well, the problem,
Maybe.
but the problem with most of recreation in Oakland is they're now charging you to play.
Okay.
It's not that free anymore. Somebody has to pay the price in order for the programs to happen. I just found out from somebody that was in another mayor's staff years ago that they used to take money from Park and Rec in order to give to the libraries or to give to someplace else.
Oh, got
Because these departments are sitting on loads of money. And they act like they're not,
it. Right.
but they move the money around to fit whatever mold they need to fill. And that's part of the problem. What Oakland has always needed, what the port needs, what the OUSD, the school system needs, is an outside audit
Right.
to find out where all this money that's coming in is being spent. And they're afraid to do that. And as long as we have the governor that we have, that's not going to happen. We need somebody, I mean, look at Hercules when they got audited. People went to jail.
Right.
The town in Southern California with, can't remember the name, they went to jail. They got audited because money was being scammed.
Well, as far as I know, every city gets audited. You know, there's money comes, there's money in the city, but then the city, you know.
But it's
puts
internal
in-
audits.
Yes.
That's different.
Right.
Because they can move stuff around. A perfect example is, there's the rent arbitration project in Oakland where the landlords pay $30 a year for the rent board to help support the rent board. And our city auditor, Brenda Roberts, did an audit. And she came out with, in that audit, that came out after the city, and this is the council members today, wanted to raise the RAP to over $100. Now it's $30. They wanted to raise it to over $100.
Oh, wow.
And she came out with an audit on this same subject, where she said, oh no, it should be raised between $63 and $70. And that caught the council because they were ready to pass the $104. But they got caught with an audit that they didn't expect.
Right.
And did they discuss this audit at the time? No. They blocked it and made it one of the last things to be heard before they went on recess. Because they don't want the truth out there.
No, they don't
It's
want the
easier
people
to-
to know.
right,
Of course
it's
not.
easier to
Of course they don't want the
manipulate.
people to know. And, well, there has to be, so what do you think? A better system, a better government? What can you do in Oakland that makes a better system for the people, for the government, I mean, one of the questions here says that how would you engage, motivate non-government organizations like nonprofits and faith bases? So how would you, I know there's a lot of nonprofits organizations
Right.
here in Oakland,
Right.
and there's a lot of churches, and there's a lot of homeless.
That's right.
Somehow, something doesn't add up.
Right.
With all these nonprofits, with all these churches, and all these,
And many of those
Homeless.
nonprofits rely on government money to continue to be nonprofits. Nonprofits were originally set up so that money came from the public to support them. They weren't set up for government to support the nonprofits. Government money coming in is to do the job of government. It's to be there and take care of the infrastructure.
right,
It's not there to support outside services. Those outside services need to come in and take their own stand on doing things. Homeless, they desperately need help. There's different reasons as why the homeless are out there. It could be mental, it could be lost their home, it could be drugs, it could be any number of reasons.
right,
But the problem is, the people that are supposed to be helping them is the county. That's the one with the health department. But
Right.
that's not, the county is not in that position to help. They're not there to help them. Because Oakland, they're gonna let Oakland flounder until somebody screams loud enough to say you're not doing your job.
right.
And that's part of the problem.
I mean, the biggest problem it's sad, it's painful when you walk the streets of Oakland. I mean, no other city has as much as homeless as Oakland does.
Well, but we didn't have
San Francisco
that.
does,
But we didn't have that until after Occupy.
right,
Occupy opened us wide up. We don't have a police department. that is sustainable to take care of all the issues in Oakland.
Right.
Okay, we don't have a health department. The nonprofits, unless they're giving certain grants through the city, they're not going to do the job.
Right.
Should the churches be doing it? A lot of those churches bring in thousands of dollars. And
I know they get like, if they're nonprofit, they get like 40,000 a year.
sure,
Yeah.
but they need to turn around. I mean, somebody said to me, oh, let's form a nonprofit because we can bring money in and pay ourselves a salary. We don't have to do much.
You know what, somebody put on Facebook today, says, you know what, I'm gonna start a nonprofit from myself.
There you go.
I thought that was really funny.
But it's true, but people look at this because they can get away with it, because there is no checks and balances in any of this.
Right, so we have about 2 minutes.
Okay.
What is the last thing you could tell to our viewers? What are you going to do for Oakland?
I am going to be a voice for the people.
Okay.
I am not there to represent government as it stands. I am not there to represent corporations and developers. I'm out there to fight to get those potholes filled, to get the city to do the jobs that they're being paid through our tax dollars to do, and to stop dumping on the community and relying on the community to use neighborly scare tactics to get things done. We have a whole city government that needs to be working for the people, by the people. We have 400,000 people in Oakland.
Right, but unfortunately not everybody votes, so please go out there, do your studies, really do your studies and do vote. Not voting, this is where we get...
That's part of the problem.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, so go do your studies and vote for the right person. And once again, Nancy, go ahead and say, what's the position you're running for?
I'm running for the at-large position, and that represents all of Oakland, not just any one district.
There you go. So go out there, do your studies, and vote. Thank you very much. And this is Tea Time
Thank
with
you.
Olive.
Thank you, Olive.